my friend! How do you fare?
You've heard the news, I hope. They're here, mind flayers. Each parasite they plant grows their numbers.
Reveal truth to the absolute!
And with this new cult on their side, we're going to need a hero.
Consider your predicament. One skull, two tenants, and no solution in sight. I could fix it all, like that. Try to cure yourself, shop around, beg, borrow, and steal. Exhaust every possibility until none are left. And when hope has been whittled down to the very marrow of despair, that's when you'll come knocking on my door.
Hello. Hi, David. This is David. He's the producer of Original Sin, and we'll show you the game together today. So, if you're playing in multiplayer, that means that David and I can disagree off-screen, but also on-screen.
Hey, there's a talking shell here.
Really?
Yeah, really.
I think you should sell it.
But
no, you should sell it.
Okay, so if you are in a disagreement like this, when you have to make a decision, the game checks and calculates who wins the discussion. And in this case, Sven won.
I'm happy that we're doing this again, David.
What? Doing what?
Well, playing multiplayer. It's been a long
Oh
time.
yeah, it's always fun.
Hey, what did you do with the shell?
What shell?
Come on, the shell.
Oh yeah, that silly thing. Yeah, I just sold it. And then...
I always wondered about that, actually. Oh, I got a scene here with us, the intellect devour.
Us?
Yeah, haven't you seen this? Hold on, you're gonna love this. Let me show you. There's really a lot of options here, so 1 second. All right, check it out.
Ooh.
All right, yeah. I mean, okay. So what do you want us to do? I could do the githyanki thing, destroy it, but there's also other stuff that I can do. What do you think?
But you are a githyanki, so if you roleplay it, you could...
What are you doing here?
What's he doing here?
Big dexterity.
But why? No, he's a
No, I'm
githyanki.
not. No, I'm a githyanki. Well, but yeah, maybe. So, I think that we should... Allee jongens, kom aan! Hey, doe de kit wel. Alright, well that settles it. It's always the same problem, eh?
Yeah.
It's like, we need to solve this, you know?
Yeah, they're always barging in, telling us what to do.
I think we need a vote system.
A voting system and dialogues.
Yeah. And that we bring...
We could also use it online.
Oh,
when you're streaming, you can ask your audience, what would you do?
Oh my god! Let's do this!
Yeah!
Feature buttons, 1, 2, 3. You can push on the buttons.
It's not even blue. There's no blue fix, so do I get the hammer? Then where's the sickle? I mean... Dan is de cam. De messagebox, ja. Gokken op wie dan was.
Ja.
We moeten aftasten.
It works!
It's done.
Brilliant! It's finished! It's glorious! It's gonna work!
Yeah. Now, someone's going to have to tell Jason.
And you know what? That's exactly what we did. But about 2 years ago, we told Jason Latino, our cinematic director, what our ambitions were with Baldur's Gate 3 for both single player and multiplayer cinematics, and he came up with some fantastic solutions. We have an interview with Jason, so I suggest we have a look at that, and then I'll be back.
I'm Jason Latino, cinematic director here at Larian Studios. We're in the Dublin office. This is where both the writing team is centrally located along with cinematics. So we're determining in this office like what story we're telling and how we're telling the story, which is taking that camera down from being above the players and right into the drama and right into the action.
Say it. You think I'm a monster?
We've come up with a system that allows voting, that allows kind of seeing other players' preferences for what I would do in that scenario. You might be learning secrets, you might be finding out about a weapon cache somewhere or a certain mission that you want to do on your own. The fact that you're suddenly observed is information you need to know as the player, and presenting that in a cinematic way is what my whole department is doing. Baldur's Gate is an absolutely huge game. I can't think of another early access game that's done cinematics on this level, that has deliberately chosen to present their story in close-up like this. There's a lot of games where the moment you add cinematics, they have to get smaller because they have to. There's animations and all the manual work that goes into this stuff. We didn't want to do that. We don't want to limit the stories that... I don't want to be the guy that showed up and limit the stories that Larian's telling. So we're working on some adaptive cameras that work the same way if you're a half-elf or if you're a half-ling. And we want you, if you're playing a gnome, for that story to be told from your perspective. We want that to be cinematic. We want you to feel like you're telling your story and we're shooting it for you. If you're walking around and you see one of your buddies is engaged in dialogue, that means they are seeing a cutscene, that they have blinders on. And this is something that kind of goes back with the kind of the Larian tradition of being able to pickpocket people that are kind of engaged in social activities and sequences. And so you can pickpocket your friends, you can pickpocket the person they're talking to. You can move around dynamic objects and pickpocket them. Yeah.
Oh, Petal. My, the mask suits you.
But later on, if you choose to play Astarion or a vampire, you might wake up in the middle of the night kind of looking for a midnight snack. You know, the menu, the dialogue options, the way that you can take that scene is basically going to be a list of your friends or party members. If you're playing multiplayer, that's going to be a list of the guys that you're playing with. And what's great about that is not only are they on the menu for that night, they're going to see that. They're going to see that they're on the menu. And through the kind of the voting mechanic, they're going to be able to say, this is like, no, okay, I'll give one up for the team. Or they can try and sell at their buddies and just say, no, bite him. So that's a way that, like, there's that dramatic irony that we're able to play on, and we'll be looking for more ways to experiment with as we develop the game, because taking on multiplayer cinematics is something that hasn't really been done. It's typically you'll have a multiplayer game with cinematics, and they're consumed basically the same way.
All I want is a little fun. Is that so much to ask?
And what we want to do is take that one step further, and actually this is like, well, your friends are seeing that you're seeing this as well, and they're putting their vote on. They can try and sell their friend out. They can say, don't eat me, or just like, no, bite me. And so they don't have control over the situation. So there's that fine kind of dramatic irony that you get in this game with our multiplayer cinematics, and we're always going to be looking for more opportunities to do this. That's just one that we're wrenching in currently.
Stop! I give up!
You know, it's an experiment. There's not many kind of narrative experiences of that kind. Cinematics is typically you watch a movie versus participate in it. And even though there are other games that allow you to choose where the story goes, there are very few games that allow you to do that in concert with your friends and through multiplayer. So developing those scenes, figuring out when we're trying this, what works and what doesn't, throwing stuff out, adding things in, mutating, rewriting, reshooting, that's an organic process that we all get to do together. That's what early access is all about, is figuring out what has impact with you guys, what has resonance, and how we can surface that more in the way that we choose to do our work.
And that is just the dialogues in multiplayer. There is so much more to the multiplayer version of Baldur's Gate 3 that you have to experience it to believe it. For example, in combat, when it is your turn and it is another player's turn at the same time, you can now simultaneously command your party and have them do things and have them interact with each other, actually. Which leads to a lot of discussion, obviously, but is also a lot of fun. Likewise, if you're a streamer, you can, at any moment that you want, give control of your dialogues to your audience, and then you will see what they voted for. And I think it's going to lead to a lot of very, very interesting adventures. We have more, but it's not all of it is ready, because the game is still in development and we're just preparing for early access. But once the early access campaign will be rolling, we are going to introduce multiplayer feature after multiplayer feature, and obviously we're going to listen to what you have to tell us, and then we'll add those things on top of it also, at least if they're doable. That's it for me today. We are going to be back with a new community update, and in that one we're going to tackle the topic of romance in Baldur's Gate 3. See you soon, take care, bye bye.
Where's my shell?
I can't believe it's Brains again. I guess I know who's responsible for dinner tonight.
Well, what's wrong with Brains, Sven?
I don't know. I mean, like, Brains yesterday, the day before that. Ever since we started on this project, Brains, Brains, Brains.
I didn't even want to eat brains in the first place, let alone this many times. Even a dog is tired of brains.
Well, we can eat the dog.
No, you can't eat the dog. You gotta pet the dog. I'm not trusting you anymore with the responsibility of finding food for our party. It's over.
Well, you knew I was a rogue. You can never trust me.
Speaking of trust, this brings us seamlessly to the theme of our community update today. Today we're going to be talking about romance and relationships in Baldur's Gate 3 and building up trust in your party. And joining me to explain you how we do things in BG3 are Sarah Baylis, our lead writer, and Jason Latino, our cinematic director. We did a big interview with them, so I suggest we have a look at what they have to say.
For example, you have someone like Gale who needs to consume magical artifacts in order to survive. He's got this... I don't think I'm supposed to say that. Never mind, that's a spoiler. Okay. When you meet the characters in this game, they're not just sitting there waiting for the player character to happen upon them, really. They have their own motivations, their own reason to be there, their own history, and when the player meets them, they have an opportunity to form a party that has a shared goal.
On a thrall, Blackith blesses me this day.
So the group that we're traveling with, under normal circumstances, would never ever have anything in common, have any reason to travel together. You have a githyanki warrior, you have a folk hero of the Blade of Frontiers, you have a cleric of Shar, you have a wizard that wants nothing more than to be in his tower studying wizardly things. But they're kind of forced into this situation where their best chance of survival is going to be to rely on each other. But that doesn't change the fact that under normal circumstances, they've got next to nothing in common. And the question is going to be, is this shared goal going to be enough to keep them together, or are their differences going to tear them apart?
A sharp tongue, elf. Would that your mind proved its equal.
Half-elf. So because your party is made up of these extremely different people who would normally never be associated or have a group together, there's going to be plenty of conflict, particularly at your camp when they have a moment to reflect on what's been happening, what decisions you've made that might have favored one of your fellow travelers over another. That's all going to kind of come to a head at some point. And it can even happen that one character might not survive a particular conflict, depending on how you decide to settle it. The relationships that you have with your companions are not solely defined by the specific things you say to them in a one-on-one conversation. If I'm traveling with Shadowheart, she's always going to be observing the decisions that I'm making, who I choose to fight, who I choose to spare. So everyone in your party is always going to be watching you, seeing how you interact, and forming their own judgments about you based on that. Your camp is the place that, as you're going through your adventure, you can always kind of get your bearings, talk to the people you've been traveling with, have a moment to reflect on everything that's been happening. And in these kind of quiet moments are where the conflict comes to the top. You have a moment of silence and safety, and it's going to bubble up there. Not only conflict as well, you might have a relationship developing with someone that you're traveling with. And in this kind of quiet moment around the campfire is when you're going to have a chance to explore that and get to know them a bit better, or maybe they'll come to you and say they've been noticing you or really impressed by something you've done, and the camp is the kind of moment where that's going to come to a head as well.
I want you to know that I like what I see. In short, I've grown to trust you.
So we put a lot of time and effort into making our companions and origin characters as kind of nuanced as possible, but at the end of the day, this remains a D&D game, and the most important character in a game of D&D is you, the player, who you want to be, what kind of character you want to create. And we tried really hard to make sure that a customized character is not missing out on anything in the game world. They still have layers to discover about themselves and mysteries to unfold.
A drow in the sun. Stand down! This one's got a touch of the absolute about her.
So with Dungeons and Dragons, we're all telling a story together. Part of telling a three-dimensional story is romance. So what we have to look at is we have to look at the scenes that the writers are giving us, the rules of the game, all the different races and classes and stories that the players can tell, and the romance options, and make that all feel real to them and make that feel authentic to the player.
You know who I never thought I'd find myself caring for?
Here we have like Shadowheart and the player getting to know each other over a bottle of wine while they watch the stars come out over the skies of Faerûn. This is something that it's not written explicitly into the script, but it's something that the writers allow us to adapt into cutscenes and figure out how we can arrange the characters so they're closer to each other. When are they looking at each other? When are they looking away from each other? When are they staring into their bottle of wine, wondering what to say next? When are they fumbling for words? This is something that comes up with you when you have a dialogue UI. And it's analogous to getting to know somebody for the first time and choosing your next words wisely. Because in a game like this, what you say dictates what these relationships can turn into, how far can they go, how much do you learn about these characters, and just generally what shape a relationship is going to take.
I must admit, you've been a surprise, and not an unpleasant one.
There are other more intimate moments that we film here as well. We use storyboards to onboard the actors, onboard the art team, in order to figure out what's going to happen, what needs to be captured live in the camera, what needs to be present in the data, as well as letting the actors know how we're going to use that data, how we're going to present their performance to the audience. So when you're working with the player's guide from Dungeons & Dragons, you have all of these different races at all these different sizes, action scenes, romance scenes. They all have to work for whatever the player chose as their race. We have to consistently honor their choices. We have to say, it's just like, no, you're a halfling hero. There's no problem that's too big for you. Nope, don't do that. Don't do that. No matter who you are, no matter what story you're telling, romance can be a big part of your journey, and we're here to make that feel real.
And there you have it. Now, just like the characters that Jason and Sarah are trying to bring to life are looking for a way of getting rid of the tadpole that's going to turn them into mind flayers, we at Larian Studios are working very hard trying to get that early access version in your hands. Whether the party is going to succeed of getting rid of Ceremorphosis and everything that entails, we don't know. What we do know is that we are about ready, and it should be in your hands very, very, very soon. And with that said, this is probably one of the last community updates before the early access release. So thank you very much for watching. See you very, very soon. We can't wait to hear what you think of Baldur's Gate 3, and I look very much forward to hearing all of your feedback. Take care, everybody. Until next time. Bye-bye.